G'day guys, Matt here from Not in the Manual. Just thought I'd give this video a little bit of an intro. I think it needed one. The main purpose of this video is to show you how much of a difference mounting a bike on the roof of the car makes to the economy. So I know roughly what my car the consumption is at 110 kilometers an hour along this particular part of freeway that I will be driving on. So I can compare it, give a rough comparison and get a bit of an idea as to how much the drag of that bike on the roof creates. So yeah, that's the main part of the video. Now I filmed this video before Christmas, so here we go, phantom braking while this car's merging. So what I noticed was after I got the holiday update for the car, Autopilot had some issues. It wasn't as consistent as it normally is with the auto lane changes and driving along at freeway speed. So I recently just did a trip up to Port Macquarie, 4 hours north of Sydney. So once you get out of Sydney a bit, you'll sometimes get at the edge of the freeway in the emergency breakdown lane, you will get people riding road bikes. Now the car reacts very poorly to that and often brakes very harsh, and it sees the bike from a long distance away. And that can be quite scary. So there's that. And then if it sees a person at the edge of the road, so if there's a car pulled over in that emergency lane, even if it's well away from the lane that you're in, if it sees a person, it jumps on the brakes. And this is something I've never really noticed before. It has sort of maybe reacted slightly, slowed down a little bit, but it is quite harsh right now. And I've only noticed it since that holiday update. So it's something to be really careful of. The other thing I noticed was when you get like a little, what do you call it, a culvert at the edge, you know, there's some little breakdown areas at the edge of the motorways, and it has some dotted lines and there is a cutout at the edge of the road. When you're going along at Autopilot 110, you get a little flinch on the steering wheel every time that comes up, like the car's going to steer into it. And that can be it's quite scary when it first happens. Sometimes it's a little flinch of the steering wheel, sometimes it will veer a little bit. And yeah, it's something to be really careful of. And I thought I'd just give a little warning of that before, because during this video I really praise the Autopilot system. And I've also noticed that the auto lane change isn't as reliable. So something to be really careful of and consider while you're testing the free enhanced Autopilot. I think you guys should still be on that trial. So you'll be coming to the end of that and you'll be considering whether to keep that or not. So yeah, look, it has some issues that hopefully Tesla will sort out, but I just want you to be wary of those. And it's not a sign of what that enhanced Autopilot is normally like. So if you've been scared by these little events a couple of times, don't let that put you off buying the enhanced Autopilot. If you're enjoying the parking side of it, then great. You know, the Autopilot has a lot of room for improvement. So hopefully with the full self-driving beta getting a big update, hopefully some of that improvement filters through down into the Autopilot. G'day guys, Matt here from Not in the Manual. I'm going to do a trip up to a mountain bike park at Ourimbah from Sydney here today. It's about an 80 kilometre journey each way. So what I've done is I have my bike on the roof of the car today, which is going to create a lot of drag, and we're going to see where the efficiency sits at. So we'll have a quick look at the trip. So go to the overview. So you can see here, starting off down in Sydney here in St Ives and heading up on the M1 north up to Ourimbah, and we have 75 kilometers, 56-minute trip, and telling me we are going to arrive there with where are we? 81% charge. Sorry, my eyes aren't the best today. And we're starting off at 98%. So battery stats, battery is at 28.5 degrees. Rear motor's at 34. Good to go. Pretty cool to look up and see the bike on the roof through the through the glass roof. Pretty cool. It's a nice view. I love the glass roof in this car. Never been much for sunroofs and things, but I do love this glass roof. Okay, so we're on the M1 motorway, heading north out of Sydney. We're in the 110 zone, so we'll do an auto lane change and get past these slow cars. Yeah, auto lane change, navigate on autopilot. The more and more I have it, the more I don't regret spending the money and buying the package. So it's been quite good. When I first switched over to Tesla Vision, the auto lane change was a little bit wobbly, but I don't know if it's my imagination or I'm getting used to it, but it does a pretty good job. It's not as wobbly. The speed-based lane change suggestions are pretty good. I've got it set on the mildest setting to really be slowing you down a fair bit to suggest an overtaking maneuver. We'll see here how good it is at getting back in the left lane, in the middle lane. No, we're overtaking slowly, so it still wants to hang and hog this right lane sometimes, even though we're only just overtaking. But pretty good. Getting a fair bit of wind noise from the bike too, so that was the main reason of giving this update. So that must be creating a bit of drag. So we'll see where the efficiency's at. Just at the start of the trip now, so we've gone 14 kilometers and we're at 154 watt hours per kilometer. We just came up a big hill there, so that would have just peaked that a little bit, and I expect that to flatten out. But already, even if it sticks and stays at 156 watt hours per kilometer, that's still pretty efficient. So see there, I just did the auto lane change. It's just hanging in this right lane. I wasn't happy with that. Was barely overtaking the cars, so I put the auto lane change on. I indicated, I knew there was a car there, and what it does, it slows down and then pulls in behind, nice and smooth. Pretty good, and you could see that in the animation there. I'm going to struggle a bit today with my eyes, guys. I'm struggling with the small print. Yeah, 16 kilometers. Yeah, you can see there it's jumped up to 167 watt hours per kilometer. So yeah, we've just done that bigger elevation there, coming up to that higher elevation. So I'm not too worried about resetting this trip. I can go into Teslafy, that website that logs data from the car, and I can get all the data from this trip. No problem, I can get it later on. So if it's handy with me doing these videos, if I do forget to reset the trip, I can always go and look at that afterwards. So, and that's quite handy for getting charger information, consumption. It logs all your charging sessions and monitors what it can. It's limited with what it can monitor. But some charging sessions, it gives you a graph of the voltage and the kilowatts of charging, so pretty good. Anyway, we'll pick back up a bit further along. All right, guys, we're just coming down, going across the Brooklyn Bridge. May sound funny to you guys in the US, but quite a scenic spot. You've got the old railway bridge on the right. No, sorry, it's not the old railway bridge. The old railway bridge is further down. It's the old car bridge there, the old Pacific Highway. So it's really scenic crossing the Hawkesbury River here. Really nice late in the day, early in the morning, you get the reflection off the water. It's really nice. So we've just come down a really steep decline, and that's given me some better consumption, 138 watt hours per kilometre. So not too bad, 22 Ks into it. You can already see that climbing now. We're going to start climbing up along this ridgeline here. So that's the nature of this road. There's ups and downs, and you've really just got to look at your consumption towards the end of the trip. I don't know if you guys can hear that wind noise here. Now we're up on the ridgeline. It's pretty open and exposed, so we've got a little bit more wind. Here we've got the energy app. I'm struggling to read that a little bit today, but once again, remember I said when you're driving, you're focused on the road, so that's where these colours come into play. So while that is the orangey colour, that means I'm not doing as per the predicted trip. The consumption, I was sort of green in the beginning and now it's gone red. So I'd say possibly that's due to the bike on the roof. Because you can see there, even for the hills, it was predicting the hills. It knows the elevations in the trip planner. It's factoring in things like wind direction and all that sort of stuff. So, and you can see there, driving is the biggest one here, but I've had it on autopilot to the speed limit the whole time. So consumption should be as good as it can be. And yeah, still in the orange, so we'll see how we go, but I'd say it's due to the drag of the bike on the roof. So that's probably going to make, I'm predicting it's going to make a 10% difference to my consumption. But yeah, let's see how it looks. Yeah, some dark clouds here, hoping it's not going to rain for my bike ride, but this is quite a good mountain bike park here. I haven't ridden here for a few years, and I think it's changed a little bit, so it should be fun. But yeah, struggling to read. The other day I had a couple of stitches removed from my eye. I've had 2 cornea transplants. I think I've explained that before. See, I can read these road signs fine. I can read, it's just a really super fine print I struggle with. So, and that's, yeah, I had some stitches out the other day, so there's some inflammation there, and my vision isn't as good. In a certain distance, it's actually better, but yeah, close up, here's a speed-based overtaking lane suggestion. So yeah, I'm just struggling a little bit today, so reading some of these figures is difficult, but anyway, we'll keep going along, but that's why I'm, yeah, just struggling a bit today. And someone just tried overtaking me on the left there. We'll get over and let them drive like an idiot. It's moments like these you wish there was a policeman sitting around the corner here. Yeah, so what were we? 165 watt hours per kilometre. So we're about to do a really steep decline here. So we'll see that'll just drop down. But I'm expecting my consumption to be around that mark, 160. So normally it sits around 140, 145 watt hours per kilometre for 110 kilometre of freeway driving, 110 kilometre per hour freeway driving. And that's my average, sort of 140, 145. I have had it a bit better. It really just depends on the weather. So we are 21 degrees today. It's cooled off a bit. It was 28 degrees yesterday. It might have even been 30 at some stage. But yeah, batteries at 29.8, rear motors at 38 degrees. So we're all nice and stable temperature-wise. You can see that windsock's filling up a little bit. So yeah, just some small gusts. 28 kilometres to go. So yeah, I'm predicting, 160, 165 watt hours per kilometre. So up from 145. So still not a big deal. 165 watt hours per kilometre is still more efficient than most other EVs on the market here in Australia today. So still pretty good. Efficiency is number one. Okay guys, just started that off with a bit of a wobbly exit maneuver. Still not that great on the exits, Navigate on autopilot. It still goes a bit wild. You can see here I'm still not, it's taken Navigate on autopilot off. You can see here it's automatically, I haven't touched anything, it's winding the speed limits down, and we're at, see, if I accidentally took that exit and wasn't paying attention, the car would slow down automatically. So guys, I'm almost at the mountain bike park. There we go, 157 watt hours per kilometre. 72 kilometres, 50 minutes. Pretty good efficiency. It's a little bit better than I thought it would have been. You can see there that, yeah, I did not meet the predicted consumption. So that the bike has made that difference. The last 50 kilometers, 150 watt hours per kilometer, that's still super efficient. I can't complain, and you can see there, you just can't worry about the small stuff. I don't even have my aero wheel caps on. I've got them off. So it's not the end of the world with these things. It's not the end of the world to leave your roof racks on. You got to remember, these things make very small differences. You can see there the bike today made a big difference, but well, not really a big difference, but you can see it made a difference to the consumption. You can see that in the results, but overall it's really nothing to stress about. I think after you own an EV for a while, these things you just do them without thinking. Just go to normal. Don't try and stress about these little things. So yeah, so what we'll do, I'll do it for the trip back as well, and I'll compare in both directions. The wind isn't too bad today at all, so I'm expecting to have very similar consumption on the way back, and it should all even out, and we'll average out the two and have a look at it. Damn, coming up here makes me miss four-wheel driving. I used to explore this state forest in my four-wheel drives. Can't do that in the Model 3. One day I'm going to have a four-wheel drive EV. Park's not too busy today. This is quite good. I've just got to find where my mates have parked and go from there. Had a little bit of rain overnight, so should be nice hero dirt today. Anyway guys, I'll catch you afterwards. Okay guys, I'm heading back, just about to jump back on the motorway. We've got 69 kilometers to go, and 48 minutes. So I'll give an update on the way back as we go along, and we'll see what efficiency we get. Yeah, had a good ride. A lot of big steep climbs, and some nice rough downhill. Forgot to take my camera with me and get some riding footage, but that's not what this video is about anyway. But yeah, been riding with a new bunch of guys. Well, one of the guys I work with for years, and yeah, know quite well, but the others I've only met recently, and they're a nice bunch of guys. Yeah, I'll be riding with them a lot more. But yeah, good day out. Nice good weather again. Still, the air's still pretty still, so we're not getting much headwind at all. And yeah, let's see what efficiency we get on the way back. Yep, 110. Navigate on autopilot on. Do a lane change here. Auto lane change. Nice and smooth. No problem. On the way up, I had no phantom braking whatsoever. The system was pretty smooth, and I feel, yeah, I'm trusting this Tesla Vision a lot more. And yeah, it's a pretty stable system. I mean, look, it handles those drivers cutting up on the inside quite well. It used to sort of brake for those. It's all quite smooth. I find that, yeah, it's pretty consistent with its reactions and stuff now. Not all the time, but most of the time now. It's a bit more trustworthy. Thought we might just have a quick look at the energy app. I don't know how well you can see that here at the moment. I might just go into display. Yep, it's on 100%. Go back to the energy app. So it's saying I'm going to arrive home with 45.2%. We're on 66% at the moment. So a bit over 20% I used on the way up, and looks like we're heading into the same sort of consumption for the way back. And you can see already I'm under that prediction. So that's, normally with the freeway driving, I'm usually, pretty good. It's usually green for most of it. So remember, the green means that you're on track with your consumption. You're on track with the predicted consumption. And you can see it's just gone green again because we're on a nice sort of flat surface here, and it's quite good. But yeah, wherever it's yellow, you haven't been going to that. So you could probably, if you're cutting it fine, which you shouldn't do. If you're cutting it fine though, this will help you work out what speed you need to do to keep your consumption at the level required. So we'll see. 45.2. Sorry, my vision's still not that great. 45.2 predicted. Let's see what we arrive with. Cars coming from all over the place here. I'm just doing auto lane change. See there, I indicated before the car was even past me. It's a bit slow to accelerate for overtaking. It takes a while to ramp up, but you can see there it's ramping me up to 110, and we're passing this car now. All right, so sort of halfway, I guess, on the trip. Now the consumption's been a fair bit higher. I just came down a decline. It was sitting up on about 200 watt hours per kilometre, and it's dropped down to 183, 182, and we've got to climb here again, so that's going to come up again. But then we've got another descent, and I think at the end of this trip it's probably going to average out at 180, 185 watt hours per kilometre. So we'll average out the two trips. I still don't think there's much of a headwind today. Now, you might be wondering here, so we've got the bike on the roof, you might have a roof box, a bit more gear in the car, and once you've done a couple of those trips, you have an idea of where the consumption is going to be in those particular conditions. But you can't put that into the trip planner of the car. The car is only going to use where it thinks the consumption is going to be for the car. And that's basing that on a car that's unloaded. As far as I know, it's basing that on a car that's unloaded. Whether it's measuring the weight in the car, I'm not sure. I think there is a sensor in the back of the car to for braking distribution. I think a lot of cars have those, where it decides how much braking force to give the rear of the car, depending on how loaded the car is. So I'd assume the Tesla has something like that. So it would have an idea of how loaded the car is weight-wise, but I don't know if it's factoring that into the range prediction or the consumption prediction. But you might be thinking, well, what use is the trip planner now in the car? Well, what you can do is use a combination of things. If you don't have another option, you just want to use the car system, well, you can look at the energy app and see how your trend is going. You can look at the consumption graph, and it says, okay, the last 50 Ks have been 188 watt hours per kilometre. It tells you how much range you've got left to zero. So you can still use that, but it's not going to help you plan that trip initially. So what you can do, and I'll try and overlay a screen recording from my phone for a better route planner. Now, I don't get paid anything from a better route planner. It's just an app that I use, and I've got no affiliation with them. I guess I've got to start saying that sort of stuff. But it is a great tool for this, because when you plan the trip, you can manually input what consumption you think the car is going to get. So you can make that adjustment, and it's something you can't do in the trip planner in the car. So for this trip, I mean, it's only a short trip, but if I was doing a longer trip, with my bike on the roof, I'll know what my average consumption normally is driving on the freeway at a certain speed with my bike on the roof. I can actually enter the consumption figure, or I could put a higher consumption figure as a bit of a buffer, a safety margin in there to plan my trip. And I might put 200 watt hours per kilometre to allow for some extra things, and then plan my trip that way. And that way I know I'm probably going to be worst case. And it is a great app for planning your trip out. You can do it days or weeks or months before your trip, and even on the day it will adjust to the conditions and factor in the consumption of your car if you link it to your car. And it's quite a handy tool to have. So if you're thinking, well, how do I predict these things? Well, it's a bit of trial and error and initially, but you can just, you know, put 20 or 30% higher consumption into a better route planner app to allow for that sort of thing. So you might know it's going to be raining and the roads are going to be wet and your consumption will go up. So you might want to use that app to plan it if you know that you're going to be concerned about your distance between DC fast charging on a longer trip. But if you've got a Tesla, it's not really a problem. Unless you're going somewhere outside of the supercharging network, it's not really an issue. So definitely a really handy tool, better route planner. Obviously I'm not using it on a day like today because I'm well within the range capabilities of the car. I'm not even going to need to DC fast charge. I'll just put my car onto the slow charge when I get home. Even then, I'll get back with 40% roughly. That's enough to last me out the rest of the weekend and probably to get to work on Monday. So no problem there. But yeah, we'll see what the consumption's like when we go further along. Okay, I just missed filming that exit. The car took the exit fine. I normally try turning off Navigate on autopilot before I need to exit the freeway, but it actually handled that quite well. But I'd still recommend turning it off before you exit a freeway. So it can still be quite unpredictable on those exits. But yeah, I'm almost home, so I guess we can probably do the summary here. I don't think the consumption is going to change too much between here and home. So here, you know, I find this screen is quite good. This is in the consumption graph, and this was the old energy app screen. So on a longer trip, it's best to just leave it on the last 50 kilometers. You can see if you change that to the last 25 or 10, it varies a lot depending on the sort of driving you've done, but last 50 gives you a good average of how you're going on that trip. So we can see there 159 watt hours per kilometer for the last 50 kilometers, which is pretty efficient, up at 110 kilometers an hour. It's not that much different from my normal consumption. So really having this bike on the roof, we'll do some calculations when I get back and I'll overlay them on the video, but it's not dramatically more. The initial prediction was 45.2% that I would have getting home. So you can see I'm not a massive amount different to the predicted line. So the bike has made a difference, definitely made a difference to the consumption because it's not a windy day. But it's now, I mean, it's used an extra, 42.8, so it's not really that much more. I think it's not something you need to be too concerned about, but I really like doing these tests. Yeah, guys, I don't know what else to talk about today. I think that's, yeah, that's it. So battery temperature sat just over 30 degrees. It seems to be keeping the rear motor at about 40 degrees now. So the battery temp was hovering between 30 and 35. So really, if I decided I wanted to go and supercharge, it wouldn't have taken that long to precondition the battery and bring it up to 40 degrees. I need to do another longer trip because there's been some improvements to the preconditioning for fast charging on this car, so I wouldn't mind testing that out and seeing how much more efficient that is. Hopefully this proves something to you today, and this was an interesting video, and yeah, I'll catch you next video. Thanks for watching.